Welcome to ConnectLive 2020.
Hello, welcome to ConnectLive 2020. This year is virtual.
This presentation, we're going to be talking about how do you manage and complex curation of data and taxonomies powering the AI search in Knowledge Unlocked. A key contributor to successful Knowledge Unlocked projects and successful AI-powered search is the curation of the data that matters most to your organization. For this session, I'm joined by iManage partner Lexsoft, who will explain how knowledge is curated with taxonomies and structured metadata with their T3 tool in order to power intelligent AI search. To introduce myself, I'm Joe Campbell. I'm the product manager for Knowledge Unlocked at iManage. I've been with RAVN for 8 years and was an early employee of RAVN when it was a startup before iManage. I'm also joined as a co-presenter with Carlos.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I'm Carlos García-Egocheaga. I'm managing director of Lexsoft, and I've been involved in legal tech for the past 15 years and in the sector for the past 25.
So the agenda for this presentation is we're going to start, talking about knowledge searching, why knowledge searching is important. We're going to briefly talk about Knowledge Unlocked and the proposition we're doing with iManage. And Carlos is going to be talking about how they, create the metadata with the T3 tool. And then we're going to talk about some of the customer success with RAVN and T3. The way lawyers want to interface with knowledge is changing with new technology. It's moving away from retrieval search. There have been great advantages in the Work 10 search that have optimized this retrieval experience. RAVN is the next step in what we call knowledge searching. Lawyers want to find answers, not just search result lists. They seek inspiration on content they don't know exists. For example, in Netflix, it recommends the next great movie to watch. You'll soon run out of ideas if you're just searching on movies that you know. People want to not only find documents, but they want to find expertise. They want to find things, not strings. They want to show relationships, connections, adding content. They expect analytical support, being able to have paths and trends and predictive analytical searching using structured data that have all this information and facts presented to them at the right moment. All the things are going past enterprise search with retrieval search. They're now looking towards knowledge search. Knowledge search. We've learned a huge amount from knowledge enterprise projects such as Sidley and Linklaters and why knowledge searching is important to them, but we recognize not everyone has their scale. So we productized the 7 features commonly used all within the iManage ecosystem, reducing the cost and time to deploy so that knowledge is for everyone. These features can be turned on immediately from the Work CMS with Knowledge Essentials, which I'll talk about in the next slide, and needs no current or previous knowledge management content. The 7 ways of searching are search and find. This is a new single search experience that is capable of searching across your new ways of searching in a single view. Recommendations, using machine learning to recommend content to get the job done faster. It's searching without searching. Expertise locator. This allows you to identify experts based on the content in your index with user turnable weights optimized specifically to a user's needs. Matter explorer, matter locator. This is similar to Matter Explorer that we did at Linklaters. This allows you to discover similar matters to the ones you are working on. Knowledge Locator is the ability to search for internal and external curated knowledge-based content. And this is the one we'll focus on today when Carlos talks about curating internal knowledge. Clauses, similar to knowledge, the ability to search for internal and external curated clauses content, going further into the document with the clauses. And Deal Locator, again, searching and creating historic deals information within your DMS. There are many tiers in the Knowledge Unlocked solution that makes it available for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, we start at Essentials. Essentials is a small step from the indexer, requires very limited or no formal KM experience, and installs directly on top of the RAVN index. As you progress through your Knowledge Unlocked journey, you can easily add and bring in third-party content sources such as SharePoint and billing systems in order to improve relevancy in the professional tier. And in the enterprise, you start increasing the use of AI to extract further knowledge and documents to add further depth. Please go to Nick and Alex's keynote presentation to hear more details on those tiers. Knowledge Unlocked really provides a springboard to start using machine learning to improve knowledge sharing, all within your iManage DMS system. First off, a lot of these exciting things are only possible once you have all your data cleaned up and tagged correctly. That's why today I'm joined by Carlos from Lexsoft, who is one of our iManage partners, who provides tools to do just that.
Thank you, Joe. Well, if we read the early 1990s publications that we have in magazine, books, and so, we'll see that most of them, they are talking about the technology tools that are going to drive the change in the legal sector. Actually, when we go a little bit on depth on these publications, we'll see that they are not talking about document management systems or practice management system, case management. They're actually talking about knowledge management. They're actually talking about how to be more efficient, reusing the knowledge that they have within their firms. So by the late 90s, we see a lot of academics doing research papers on knowledge management. And actually what they are defining at that time is the basics concepts that we need in order to build a knowledge management system. We see in those research papers that they are talking about taxonomies, they are talking about processes, they are talking about knowledge dispersion, knowledge documentation, of course, all of the knowledge that we have within our documents. And finally, they are tying all together with technology, with the technology that they had available at that time. So for the end of the 90s, they had already defined how a knowledge management system should look like and what are the things that we need to have. But this happens over 20 years ago. So why is it relevant today? Well, the reason that it's relevant today is because in the past years, especially in the last 5 years, we've seen as a society a complete explosion of technology. Like Joe just said, we're using artificial intelligence, we're using machine learning, robotic process automation, edge computing, virtual and augmented reality, Internet of Things, blockchains, big data. We are using all of those technologies in our current life. And actually, it has had such an impact in the legal sector that we even have a word for it now, which we call legal tech. But the real change in the knowledge management profession is that because of all of this technology, it have actually changed the way that we process KM. The basics are still the same. The basics were defined, the concepts, the knowledge concepts were defined 20 years ago. But the actual processes have changed so much because of all of these artificial intelligence and new technologies that we have available right now. So what today I want to show you is that obviously we're going to have the documents stored in our document management system in iManage. Also, we're going to have enterprise search interfaces as fantastic as iManage Insight that is going to tie it up all together and is going to allow lawyers to actually search different repositories. And as a middleware, we're going to have Lexsoft's T3 knowledge management system that is going to give you the ability to add all of those KM basics, plus add all of that new technology in order to increase your KM processes and in order to make your KM process much more automated. So let's start with the basics. I mean, every single time we talk about knowledge management, we have to talk about taxonomies. Taxonomies are extremely important in knowledge management. And that's because at the end of the day, we are going to use these taxonomies to filter our search results. So if we get 2,000, 3,000 results, we are going to use all of these taxonomies to narrow it down our hits and to be able to have or to find the information that we are looking for. So when we talk about taxonomies, obviously, first thing is that we don't know how many we are going to need. Some law firms are going to use 5,000 taxonomies, others will use 15,000. Again, these taxonomies, they need to be multi-nested. So we need to have within the taxonomy tree as many branches as we need in order to build that taxonomies. We're going to apply these taxonomies to single documents, to multi-documents, to bound volumes, to experiences. So we're going to add these taxonomies to pretty much everything. And finally, they need to be easy to find and easy to apply. I mean, this is key for the process. Continue with the basics. We're going to need free text labels. Of course, I mean, it's nice to have things on a taxonomy tree, but there are many times that we are going to need free text labels in order to add more information to our knowledge management system. Some of these are going to be mandatory. Some of these are going to be editable. There are going to be some free text labels that are going to be very short, like maybe office location or language. There are other ones that are going to be long, like a summary or an abstract. Again, another piece of data that we always need are dates, because we know that knowledge management is live data. So maybe we're going to need to set a date to review a particular content every X amount of months or years. Now, when we continue into a little bit more automated things, we realize that we do have all of those documents that we are using in iManage databases, in active iManage databases. So in a large law firm, it will be very common to have different databases for maybe practice areas, maybe for tax law, commercial law, labor law, or for countries, or for languages, maybe for the Spanish-speaking lawyers, French-speaking lawyers, English-speaking lawyers. So what we're going to do with T3 is to be able to move these documents from one library to another, but also to move all of the metadata. In the case that we don't have that particular metadata in the Destiny, in the iManage knowledge database, we are going to be able to create it on the fly. Of course, we're also going to be able to do some transformation of this metadata. Maybe things that were in custom 3, now they are going to be in custom 5. But even more interesting than that, maybe we are going to replace things like the client name, let's say AT&T, for the sector. Let's say this document applies to the telecommunications sector. Again, we're also going to have editable fields or not. We're also going to have some more dates that we are going to be using. Some of these dates, like submission dates and when was this document actually published, they are going to be really good for our dashboards in order to know how long does it take for knowledge to move from one place to another. All of these gathering of information from the iManage database, we are going to do it automatically, and it's super easy to set up within T3. Okay, but we said that we were going to use all of these new technologies that we have available. Right now, the way that we designed T3, we decided to be able to interface with a bunch of other different web services of different third parties that we have available today. So, for instance, one of the things that we want to do is we want to send a particular document or a particular knowledge data through a web service into a particular vendor to gather information, to extract some key points, to maybe extract some clauses, to do different things with that information that we have. Also in an asynchronous way. At the end of the day, when we send a particular piece of data to a third-party system, to a party in the cloud, we don't know when are we going to get the answers. So maybe we have to stop the workflows of the whole knowledge management publication until we wait for the results. So all of these things are fully configurable within T3, and pretty much what are going to allow us to do is to use things like we're seeing right now in the screen, in which we have sent a document to the RAVN extract cloud, and we're getting back the governing law, we're getting back some clauses too. So at the end of the day, this document is going to be able to filter itself by different governing law, and also we're going to have the clauses available within this document. Maybe one of the things that we want to do after that is to create our own clause bank in order to utilize this with also different party products. At the end, with all of this information that we're getting from all of these different web services from these different companies, are going to translate into searchable results and into filters to be able to shrink our result set and to be able to find that information that we were looking for. This takes us directly into workflows. So right now, what we need to do is to have very simple workflows that they interact with many things at the same time. Obviously, you can decide what is the path that a particular piece of knowledge data need to take, but also you can do things like we're seeing right now on the screen to send this document to T3 redact. T3 redact is going to delete, is going to redact the name of the client, the name of the contacts, the physical addresses, the virtual addresses. So actually, without any human intervention, we are going to be able to redact a document on the fly. Also, in this particular example, at the same time, we send in this document to RAVN extract, and we're going to apply a recipe. So we are going to get some key points back into our profile. And all of this is going to be done without human intervention. But again, what we're seeing right now is a publication workflow that is actually being manually set up. So it's been a lawyer that has decided to actually submit a piece of knowledge into our KMS system. But what we're doing right now in T3 is automating also all of these tasks. All of us that we have worked in knowledge management for quite a while, we know that the weakest point of all of these systems is that the lawyers are going to send us not enough documents for knowledge management. So at the end of the day, what do we want to do? We want to apply rules. Sometimes we're going to do this publication process without actually having an interface. So maybe we're going to be looking for final documents, for executed or signed documents. Maybe we are going to be looking into closing folders. And through all of these documents, we are also going to be able to apply rules. So automatically we can get copies of those documents and push them into the knowledge department. Maybe some of these rules is that if I have a PDF, I have to look for the final Word version of that document, because maybe the PDF is just the signed, scanned document that we have. Again, we can do this with single documents or with multiple documents. So with that in mind, PSLs and knowledge professionals are more and more important every day. At the end of the day, what we want to do is to pass quite a bit of the work to these knowledge professionals in order to finish out the curation of the document. Again, we want to do it in a very simple way so they can concentrate on the actual things that add value and not in the process part that we're going to take automatically to T3. Again, they're going to be able to not only work with single documents, but they're also going to be able to work with sets of documents, with bound volumes, with experiences, whatever they need. So at the end of the day, they can concentrate on the important things and not so much on the IT part of the deal. So finally, in closing, what I really want to pass on to you is that legal KM data structures were defined 20 years ago. They are completely in use today, and they're going to be usable for the next 20 years too. So the basics of knowledge management, we know since the 90s. What has really changed is the whole process, and it has changed because of the automatization, because the fact that we can start many processes at one single point, and these processes can be done by different vendors and by different third parties through web services in an asynchronous ways. So at the end of the day, what we're having is a stronger knowledge management system. Some of them, they call it the new knowledge management systems. But in reality, what we are using is the technology to be able to combine a bunch of different options that we have available in the market. Obviously, we are not thinking about what we want to build today. We are thinking on all of these legal texts that they are appearing day after day, and that we want to be able to integrate next month, next year, in a couple of years.
Thanks, Carlos. That's really interesting. So now I want to, give an example of one of the clients we've deployed this to at Womble Bond Dickinson. So here they blended Insight with Lexis T3, and it allowed the firm to tailor and tune the submission and maintenance of content with an intuitive and simple to configure and manage workflow. This was a very successful deployment. With iManage Insight, it allowed them the ability to search over 70 million transactional documents and have a knowledge search, which has about 13,000 documents indexed, with the enriched metadata that is captured within T3. The core benefit, they said to us, of the solution was all the data and profile information, metadata, was stored in iManage. So the T3 metadata is all captured within the iManage ecosystem. So as I said, what they did, they blended the two projects together with iManage at the core to store the projects. I'll show you in more detail in the next slide of how it visually looks, but a key part of this solution is the firm's taxonomy. This is a set of nested browsable folders. It was very effective and really allows users to drill down and refine their results. The taxonomy is presented as a facet The facet allows them to drill down into the results and refine the output. The additional metadata are also presented as facets to give users further options to refine and filter. So this is what it looked like visually in the Insight application. As you can see on the left, the taxonomy facet is presented with the taxonomies that have been marked in T3 and coming through as iManage documents in the Insight Knowledge Search tab. So where do they go next? They plan to extend the features and functionality of Insight to include expertise. So this will allow them to explore relationships between people and documents and other sources of information, such as matters and financials. They will use the technology such as the knowledge graph and the expertise, which will enable them to have a single view of their US and UK lawyers, supporting the concept of lawyers finding lawyers. They're also looking at, reviewing the AI capabilities of extract and classify to extend the T3 integration on the knowledge search tab, as well as the core transactional documents in iManage. So I think the key takeaway today, RAVN really is the platform to get the most out of your knowledge. And one of the key things to do here is to get your data structured correctly before applying any of the AI applications. And Lexsoft T3 is a great tool that is fully configurable to add multiple workflows in order to get your data in a structured way before applying machine learning. To highlight some of the other sessions that you may be of interest to you, if you wanted more details on the knowledge unlocked proposition, there's the presentation by Alex, and there's if you wanted to know more examples of knowledge management experience, then there's a presentation by myself, Ian and Lucy, and of course the keynote iManage and RAVN expands your iManage platform with AI. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of ConnectLive.